Welcome to Friday Night Football on PlayOnSports.com, coming to you live from Ingersoll Stadium in Olympia, Washington. I'm Alex Webster with Don Buchel on your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com. Tonight's matchup features the Lakers of Lake Oswego taking on the Bears of Olympia High School. Glad you could join us here on a beautiful night for football here in the Great Northwest in a contest between interstate foes. The Olympia Bears, of course, from the state of Washington, after a 9-2 start last year in the 4A Narrows League, finished after a first-round exit in the state playoffs. The Lake Oswego Lakers, coming from the state of Oregon, out of the 6A classification, both the top classifications for both state. And last year, a state championship, the first one ever for the Lakers under their head coach, Steve Corey. Bill Beatty in his 18th year for the Olympia Bears. Corey in his 20th season, so long-time coaches here, and we're just about set for the kickoff. As it's teed up, Lake Oswego in the white will kick it off to the Olympia Bears, and we are underway. Glad you could join us on this first Friday night of high school football. This one grabbed it around the 15-yard line, and a fumble. The ball is loose. It's still loose out on the field. Who has it?
Lake Oswego appears to have come up with it. So right out of the chute.
Looked like Nick Bunick. It looked like Nick Bunick came out of that one in the pile, number 5 for Lake Oswego, and the Olympia Bears taking on a team that was ranked as high as 23 in the nation last year, and Lake Oswego not what they wanted to do right off the bat.
Yeah, Nick Bunick is a senior. And 5'10", 180 pounds, not a big guy, but probably quick, has instincts of a senior to get to the ball and pop it out of there. So already in the red zone.
So the Lakers starting at the 19-yard line of Olympia, and the Bears already pitted with their backs against the wall after the fumble on the opening kickoff. Here is the quarterback, Justin Rupee, a newcomer into the lineup, a two-headed quarterback situation for the Lakers, as he'll split some time with Harrison Ramey, and the handoff up the middle gains more than 5 yards. So a short second down coming up for the Lakers.
So as you mentioned in your pregame, Alex, both coaches very experienced, 18 and 20 years, respectively, I think is what you said. And that makes a huge difference for kids. At this level, it's all coaching. So you expect a pretty good game out of both of these teams, even though it's the first game of the year.
3 receivers out to the right for Lake Oswego, as they'll have 2nd and 3 at the 13. Little fake on the handoff and a bootleg around the left side, running with it, smelling the end zone, and he's in for the score, Justin Rupee. And it took 2 plays for Lake Oswego to capitalize on the opening kickoff fumble by the Olympia Bears. And with 11:01 to go, Oswego is on the board.
Well, that was a misdirection play where the quarterback faked a handoff to the right-hand side, and most of the defense of Olympia bit on the fake, and that left numbers on the Lakers to their advantage as they swept to the left and right into the end zone. A fairly easy play for that offense once you got the blocking and the fake out of the way.
Griffin Graves, the junior kicker for Lake Oswego, to line it up for the try for point. Out of the hold of Harrison Ramey, who is that other quarterback, and a late substitution or a late player coming in for Lake Oswego.
They didn't have enough guys out there.
And fortunately, they had enough time to be able to get the snap down. The hold, the kick is up, and it is good. So with 11:01 to play in the first quarter, 2 plays in, and Lake Oswego, we talked a little bit about the number 1 team in the state of Oregon winning their state championship, going 14-0 last year at the highest level classification, 6A in the state of Washington, and they start their season off in banner fashion as they have a bundle of players they need to replace. Both teams looking to reload these traditionally long-standing programs. In fact, Lake Oswego, a team that since 2001 has had 8 state semifinal appearances, 4 state title games, and winning the state title for the first time last year for head coach Steve Corey.
And that's saying something. Not every state in the nation, you would think everybody does these playoffs, in a state championship. But that is not the case. So it's a tribute to Washington and Oregon that they both play that off. I remember when De La Salle had a 151-game winning streak years ago. They never played a championship out of their district. So that was kind of a misleading stat. But Lake Oswego got away with their first mistake of the game there. They didn't have 11 guys on the field. They kept their cool. The coach was like, hey, somebody get in there, plenty of time, extra point. So good job on the part of the coaching of Lake Oswego to recover from that error.
And the kicker, Griffin Graves, waiting for the official to come out. A great opportunity to share the officials for this game out of the South Sound Officials Association. Chuck Stewart is the referee, the white hat in this one. The umpire, Mike Kay. Head linesman is Matt Terrell. Line judge, Rich Atwater. And Joe Beltico is the back judge. So here is Griffin Graves already kicking one off. And that the critical play thus far in this game. Back deep for the Bears. They have two deep men. And we'll see how they do on this try. Mitch Fettig, one of them back there, as well as Cedar Frost. And here is the right-footed boot. And it looks like it will be Frost at the 5. And he's gathered it in, bringing it up, and finds a little seam out towards the 29-yard line before he's wrapped up. So already a plus for Olympia. They hang on to the ball on the second kickoff.
That's a confidence builder there. After having the mistake on the first touch, people are just, it's the first game of the year. We already had a mistake. Everybody's worried about the next mistake. So that was big to pick that up cleanly, get a decent return to the 28-yard line. You could see the return man putting his head down, not trying to fake it anybody out, just trying to go forward and get down and get their offense on the field.
Both teams we mentioned having to replace their quarterbacks from last year, and it's Gabe Padukowicz, a 6'1 senior, that will bark the signals here for the Bears. Little handoff inside, nothing doing there as the Lakers right on top of it.
And you could see Padukowicz, after he handed off the ball, he came up and faked a throw to the flat. So you know that's coming soon. You're going to see a play action fake, a fake to the guy going up the middle, and a pass out to the flat. So they're setting that play up already.
Casey Bond, a senior, 5'11", 205-pound running back with no gain on that carry. Two receivers to the left side. Here's the pitch out to Bond. He's looking for room and can't find any. He's going to lose some. Couple of yards on the loss for Casey Bond, and already we've seen Olympia look to keep it on the ground. Both teams running multiple offenses, but the offense for the Bears having to replace 7 starters from last year.
So good containment or keeping their ground on a defensive line there, forcing that 205-pound running back. Instead of coming straight up the middle, they strung him out, and that's usually not going to work with a big running back.
3rd and 11 from the 27. 9:46 to go, first quarter. Lake Oswego with a 7-0 lead over Olympia. Here's a little fake, and the right-handed toss. It's high, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Lake Oswego. That is Jack Anderson, who had 9 interceptions last year. He might take this one the distance, and he does. Lake Oswego may have themselves their second touchdown of the game. Jack Anderson, unbelievable with 9 interceptions last year. He gets his first one here early on in the first quarter of this one.
Mitch Fettig was open. The ball was overthrown, and in a position to make the INT was Jack Anderson, and he took it all the way, and that was about a 40-yard return.
Well, an inauspicious beginning for Olympia in this one, as we've played just about 2.5 minutes, and Lake Oswego, that number 1 team, state champions from Oregon, already with a commanding 13-0 lead, and with the boot, this one appears to be up and good, and it is as well. Now a 14-0 lead with 9:28 to go.
And all these kids on the lake, both teams will go home and watch this game on the WIAA.com website, and they're going to love seeing those sorts of plays, especially on the Lake Oswego side. Right now they got Olympia totally on their heels. So now it's the job of the Olympia coach to calm these kids down. I mean, these are very young people, and you can really start moving too fast for the kids on the Olympia team. Coach has got to calm them down, settle them down, because, really the Lake Oswego team is not as dominant as, they're 6A champs. But, Olympia placed 5th last year in the state of Washington. They went 9-2. And even though both teams have a lot of turnover, that's always happening in high school sports. So, the Olympia team, they're a good team. They're not as bad as 14-0 after 2.5 minutes. Well,
and some of this right now is just the fact that this is an experience-building game for Bill Beatty and his Olympia Bears. He even was quoted in the local paper, The Olympian, that they want their kids to be exposed to this kind of of challenge against a team like Lake Oswego, who was ranked in the top 25 in the nation last year. They're reloading this year. They want their kids to be able to mix and mingle with these guys and see what it takes to be at this level. This is actually the first of a home-and-home series for these two, as the Bears will go down to visit Lake Oswego to kick off the 2013 season next year. So 14-0 for Lake Oswego as they look to pick up right where they left off at the end of a 14-0 season last year. A big win over Sheldon, 47-14 in the state title game. Third kickoff here is fielded deep, and bringing it up again are the Bears, and they'll get past around the 20-yard line, 23-yard line, and will start there once again. So the Bears looking to try and get the ball into Laker territory for the first time here in what will be, in actuality, their second drive, and hoping to hang on to the football here early on.
That was Cedar Frost, the return man. And you have to give the WIAA some credit here for having games like this. You said there's going to be a home-and-home, and next year Olympia going to Lake Oswego. The WIAA started that with the Emerald City Kickoff Classic, and now I see a lot of schools across the country doing that. And in Washington and Seattle area, we lead in a lot of areas, technology. Well, this is one of them where high school sports have been elevated to the next level.
And, of course, a big game between Bellevue and a team from Texas yesterday that was a huge barn burner as the Bears look to keep it on the ground, and we'll have second and long coming up in a moment. But a big win for Bellevue in overtime against Trinity last night, a game that you can go and catch in its entirety on playonsports.com. Perhaps when you're done watching this one, but a fantastic finish in that one. In fact, highlights on playonsports.com of some of the key plays in that huge win for the Bellevue Wolverines. As we mentioned, 2nd and 9 here with the ball on the 24-yard line, 8:47 and counting down, a 14-0 lead for Lake Oswego. Gabe Padukowicz, the senior quarterback, with yet another handoff to Casey Bond, and not much room to run on that right side as Lake Oswego gets there in a hurry.
So the Lakers have shut down the running game of the Bears, and the Bears had no success running the football in the first drive. That, of course, they fumbled on the opening kickoff. Then they finally got a set of downs out of it that ended up being intercepted for a touchdown. In that set of downs and this one, there's been no running game, and that really makes the guys in the backfield of Lake Oswego really look forward to the next pass.
Twins to the near side as Padukowicz will drop back deep looking for the screen pass. A rocket shot in there, but the Lakers are right at home. About a 4-yard gain, but it's going to bring up 4th and long, and the punting team will come on for the first time for Olympia.
And that was a screen play, as you mentioned. Caden Wagoner over the middle, turning, and the ball was nicely delivered. And it was a good play call because the secondary was moving back. So if they were able to get past that first line of linebackers, they could have made significant yardage. But again, 3 and out.
And you got to be careful here if you are Lake Oswego, as the punter is Gabe Padukowicz, the quarterback. So the fake O is in play here. Jack Anderson, who returned the interception for a touchdown, is the deep man for the Lakers. And here is a nice punt off the right foot, and it's caught at the 41-yard line, and that's where the Lancers will take over for their first set of downs in their own territory in this game.
Nice play by Anderson with a fair catch on that. There were people bearing down on him. That takes quite a bit of concentration in practice so that you keep your eye on the ball. You're always worried you're going to get hit hard without having a chance to defend yourself. Call the fair catch, protect yourself, give your team good field position.
Backs out of the I formation as Justin Rupi brings the Lakers up to the line. Twins to the right. Little fake to the up man, give to the second back through with a big hole, and out near the first down marker is the ball carrier for the Lakers. And I believe J.B. Holmes with the carry.
Yep, J.B. Holmes. Let's see, 185 pounds and 5'11". He is a senior. I noticed his running style. He probably likes to cut and move laterally because when he was coming to the moment where he was hitting the defender, he didn't put his head down very, very much there, which doesn't get you the most forward momentum for yardage.
Same formation again as Holmes again, the back in the set. Actually, it's an offset eye this time. Here's the pass from Rupi, near lateral that's picked up by Anderson, and he'll get the first down, rumbling ahead near the 40-yard line. They'll spot him at the 39 or close to it. First down for the Lakers.
And you have to have a lot of confidence in your quarterback to call a play like that, because you're throwing it from the far hash mark all the way over to where the number 50 is. And that's a lateral pass. And if you don't have enough zip on the ball, and if the secondary has a jump, they can pick that thing off and move on down to the end zone. So a coach has a lot of confidence in their quarterback to call that play.
Lake Oswego looking to add to a 14-point lead with 6:06 to play in the first quarter. This time the I formation with the Twins to the left side. And again, Holmes, the deep back, he'll take it and rumble up ahead to the 30-yard line. So a big pickup of about 10 yards and another first down for the Lakers.
And he is a very good open field runner. He got past the line of scrimmage, and he had to beat a cornerback. He gave him a move, gave him a stiff arm. The cornerback made the tackle. So credit the secondary for Olympia. But J.B. Holmes, an open field threat.
Holmes, a significant participant last year, 5'11", 185-pound senior. As we mentioned, both teams reloading. Lake Oswego returning just 4 starters on offense. Receiver to either side out of the I formation. Little fake on the handoff this time, and the dump to one of the backs. It's caught and out of bounds. That's Nick Underwood, the fullback. 6'1", 215-pounder, picking up the first down as he rumbles ahead with the pass and run.
Lake Oswego very patient. That was a second and short, like a 2nd and 1. You could have gone to the end zone, but they decided, no, we'll just dump it off and get 5 or 6, get the first down, because they're confident they don't need to go for all of it right now. They're marching down the field at a nice methodical rate.
Underwood, the fullback, and again Holmes, the deep back. Rupi barking out the signals. Receiver to either side. And the handoff once again to Holmes as he finds some running room in the middle and is out near another first down. He may have it.
Olympia cannot stop these guys at the moment, and they know what's coming. J.B. Holmes up the middle is what's coming. And
it is another first down.
And that is your offensive line is really what does that for you. If you have an experienced offensive line and you have a good coaching staff and they have size, and it's pretty obvious from this angle, the Lakers' offensive line is quite a bit bigger than the defensive line of Olympia. They should dominate.
First and goal from the 8. Holmes, the lone setback, as 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Here's the handoff as he hurdles over one of his linemen. A short gain this time for Holmes. And I think one of the challenges that the Bears are struggling with is, it was reported earlier that they were going to be a little bit shorthanded, already trying to reload after being hit hard by graduation as they lose 35 seniors from last year. Is one of their top players, Connor Wilimowski, a senior who was first-team All-Narrows League last year, receiving interest from Nevada and Montana, a 2-way player on that line, an aggressive player, unable to go in this one due to a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
Second down and 6, second and goal, I should say. As Justin Rupi, the senior quarterback in his first start, handing off, and we've got our first hanky of the game. It looks like a touchdown for Holmes and the Lakers, but we'll have to see. That one's thrown in the area of holding.
Yeah, the umpire, the official behind the defensive line threw that. It's got to be holding, and it is. You mentioned on the last play, J.B. Holmes hurdled, and the officials before the game were mentioning that was one of the points of emphasis this year for officiating across the country, is to try to get kids to stop hurdling people. There must be some injuries in that regard. And so in this case, it's going to be a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, and they'll replay the down. So it was second and goal. It'll remain second down and about 17. Second and goal from the 17. So a break for the Bears as now they get a little breathing room.
Indeed. And we would say, passing situation for Lake Oswego in the scenario here as they have Rupi in the shotgun this time. fakes the handoff, lateral pass to the left side, complete to Romello Washington, and he rumbles ahead a little bit, tries to stretch out that right hand to get a little additional yardage. He'll be spotted at about the 9-yard line. It will still be goal to go. It'll be third down now for the Lakers.
Jacob Wright, a defensive back, 6'1", 205 pounds, stood his ground. It was a wide receiver screen. As you said, a lateral pass. He had 3 blockers in front of him, but the Bears stood their ground and gave up a gain of about, 9 yards. Easily could have gone for 6.
Shotgun once again on third and goal to go. Rupee, the right-handed hurler, gets this one into the hands of a receiver, but a little bit low, and Nick Palomini could not hang on to it, and we'll see what Lake Oswego opts to do. Will they? Do they have a kicker with a leg long enough, or are they going to try to convert on 4th and goal?
Randy Jones in coverage. He was right there with the receiver, blanketing him pretty well. It was a pretty good thrown ball, fairly accurate, but in front of the receiver, number 44, J.J. Schinke, may have gotten a hand on it a little bit, or maybe obstructed the vision of the receiver to break that one up.
They will go for it here on 4th down. Twins to the right side, offset eye. That is Bond back there as the deep setback. Rupee, quick one-step drop, hurls to the corner, and a leaping touchdown catch and a flag thrown. We'll see. They call it a touchdown.
That looks like offensive pass interference to me, but he signaled touchdown. If it's going to go against the offense, you would never signal touchdown. But it looked like the receiver pushed off the defender to get a little bit of space, and that's what it appeared to me to be the purpose of the flag. And the offense kind of looks that way. They're not celebrating any, pass interference against the defense penalty here. So
well, and they are talking, it appears, to the captain on the defensive side of things, and we'll see what the official call is here.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you said. Pushing off on the offensive player down in that corner.
And it's funny because the receiver had a great height advantage. I doubt he really needed to push, It's one of those things you don't think about, you do. And if he would have thought about it, hey, I'm 6'5", and the guy guarding me is 5'5".
It's one of those plays, a little Hail Mary-ish, but you are coming from the 8-yard line at that point. But it is 4th down, and it's just a corner opportunity there, and they decided not. And I'm wondering here, we'll have a change of team here, or at least maybe a timeout.
It's a timeout.
It is a timeout, as we'll see. It looks like Lake Oswego is going to bring a kicker on to potentially try for a long field goal here.
Yeah, it'd be 40 or 41 yards if that's what's happening. I'm not sure.
Maybe not.
Wait, it was I'm sorry. That was a 4 downs and out. So Olympia with the football.
Yeah. Indeed. I think they decided in one situation to go ahead and take the ball, and so Olympia starts over. So no timeout taken. We actually have a change of possession there, and a lateral scat handoff there by the Bears. Mitch Fettig finds a little bit of positive yardage on that sweep.
And Nick Bunick with the tackle for Lake Oswego. Now, you got to like that because Olympia, there's a momentum turn happened right there. Olympia stopped them, and Olympia just came up with a 3 or 4 yard gain. So they're feeling pretty good about what they're doing at the moment. And maybe the game has a chance of turning around.
2:14 left to go. First quarter, Lake Oswego leading Olympia 14-0. Another similar play. They fake it, and they lose the ball, but they do retain it, do the Bears.
And pick up a few yards in the process.
That is a lucky bounce. Jake Spiller, a 5'7" senior running back. And you get some of that movement going there where you got one running back coming across, that slot back, or that flanker that's sweeping right in front. It can get a little distracted. 3rd down and 5 as Gabe Padukowicz out of the shotgun, the quarterback here. 2 receivers on the near side. 3-step drop, looking for his receiver, and he finds him for a first down out near the 40-yard line. They'll spot it at the 38.
Crowd wakes up. Home team crowd likes what they see. Coverage man was Chandler Kelly. Good coverage. He was right on the receiver, but an accurate throw, and Olympia, they're right back in the ball game now. It's only the first quarter. I mean, they spotted these guys 14 points. I'm sure they would like to replay that first few minutes. Obviously can't do that.
I believe that was Cedar Frost on the reception on the far side of the field. Here's the handoff up the middle and a quick run up the gut by Spiller. And he finds his way for about 5 yards on the carry.
And what I see is a quickening of the pace. Olympia ran their play after that reception pretty fast. Okay, we got things moving pretty good. Let's try to keep these guys on their heels.
Out of the Narrows League for a classification, the Bears 9-2 last year. They are 45-2 in Narrows League action since 2005. But this, of course, an interstate showdown, and quickly on the play, Oswego, Lake Oswego, jumping right on top of that run, and it's going to bring up 3rd and long.
Austin Fonts on the tackle. He was assisted by Reed Martin. Two guys in the middle, 230 pounds and 240 pounds. So a lot of muscle there clogging up the middle. So Olympia had 4 or 5 plays where they're making decent yardage. It stopped right there. A reasonable 3rd down distance to make, though.
With 15 seconds left to go in the first quarter, we'll see if they get this one off on 3rd down and 7 from the 41. Out of the shotgun, a man in motion, bringing Twins to the near side. Roll out to the left, right-handed heave, and it's in and out of the hands of Cooper Murphy. Make that Alex Johnson, who took a little bit of a hit there at the end of that one, but it was in and out of his hands before he took that hit.
Yeah, Romello Washington popped him after the pass was missed. And the hit had nothing to do. It should have been caught. It was a well-thrown ball by the Olympia quarterback.
Not sure if it would have had enough distance for the first down. It might have been about a yard short unless he could have picked it up in stride, but the way he was angling it, probably would have been short anyway.
And they would have gone for it if they made that. You're right. I think it would have been a couple yards short because the receiver was angling back. He ran a nice route. He was coming to the sideline but back towards the quarterback. So Olympia looks very, very good, as well as Lake Oswego. We've seen a solid drive out of Lake Oswego. Of course, they had the interception to score a touchdown. They scored off the fumbled opening kickoff. But then they had their 3rd drive, and they were commanding, and then they were halted by the Olympia defense, and it's basically turned around.
Well, it's the end of the first quarter, and it is Lake Oswego with the 14-0 lead over the Olympia Bears. Do you want to watch more of your school's great matchups like the game you're enjoying here tonight? Tell your school to sign up for the Play On Sports School Broadcast Program. The program allows schools to broadcast all their games and other activities on the web. For more information, go to playonsports.com/SBP. So just about set to start the second quarter of action.
Still trying to move the chains over there.
It is opening day, as they say. We were running around here before this broadcast trying to get everything lined up. It's always a festive affair when it is opening night in high school football. A gorgeous evening. Game time temperature was 70 degrees, and you can see the sun filtering in and over the top of the stadium.
It's so nice this time of year to watch a football game because it's not cold. You know, you get into October and you can really battle the elements out here.
So 4th and long in a punting situation for the Bears. And it is Padukowicz who puts his right foot into this one. He's had some excellent punts thus far, and this one fumbled by Anderson, but he jumps on top of it. Does he hang on to it, though?
Yeah, he does.
And he did retain, so almost a big mistake at the beginning of the second quarter for Lake Oswego after it was the Bears with the early miscues in the first quarter.
And you saw Jack Anderson handle the fair catch very nicely in the first quarter, and he was calm, cool, and collected there. It just went right through the breadbasket.
So at the 18-yard line, that's where the Lakers will take over. And at quarterback, we talked about this earlier, Harrison Ramey in for his first series. As a two-headed quarterback goes for Lake Oswego as they had a battle between Justin Rupi and this guy, Harrison Ramey, who'll throw his first pass, and it's incomplete, intended for Mitch Lomax, the tight end. The senior is 6'4", 240-pounder. Lomax, the son of NFL veteran Neil Lomax.
Oh, really?
who is actually in attendance here at the ball game today.
And I think Neil Lomax was on the old St. Louis Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. That was an excellent thrown pass. From our angle, was it thrown a little behind him? Not sure. It was down around the knees. The receiver was open. So that second quarterback coming in, Harrison Ramey, excellent throw on that play.
Ramey, 5'10", senior, 165 pounds he weighs in. He's got 4 receivers out there and a back, and he's going to run into trouble and almost loses the handle again.
He did.
The Lakers getting careless with the ball here in the early parts of the second quarter, and the Bears, unfortunately for them, unable to capitalize.
And a heads-up play by Austin Fonts, who was an offensive lineman on the play, to pick up that loose ball. Otherwise, that would have been a turnover there. So, you lose the ball, and your offensive lineman's right there to cover for it. That's heads-up play.
Perhaps a little bit of nerves on the part of Harrison Ramey seeing his first series.
Yep.
2 receivers to the near side, 1 to the far side. The back with him there is J.B. Holmes. And Ramey with it. A shovel pass to Holmes underneath. He's got some running room. Will he get to the first down marker? It's going to be close, but I think he's just short.
He looks to be short, and there he is running, standing up, not putting his head down. But, hey, that's the way that the kid plays the game. He's an excellent runner. I would have expected him to try to bounce it around the outside and beat those defenders, but he did come up a little short. So an interesting play call here. Are they going to punt or are they going to go for it?
Well, 14 yards on the pickup on 3rd and 15. And it looks as though they will have the punter, Jack Anderson, back there. He does everything. I think he drove the bus up here from Oregon. Right-footed kick near the sideline, and they'll let it roll. Will he pick it up? The deep man, no. He wisely lets it go as Mitch Fettig, unable to get his hands on that one. I'll bet you he was chomping at the bit to get a return, but he wisely steps away from that bouncing pigskin, and Olympia will have it just outside of the 30-yard line.
Well, after the first couple of series that the Lakers had the football, I didn't think Olympia would stop them at all. And here's the second defensive stand that the Bears have stopped the team from Oregon. And the Bears looking pretty good at this point. If they could put anything together offensively in the last drive, they had a couple of first downs. They haven't crossed the midfield stripe yet. Let's see if they can get that done.
So Lake Oswego able to capitalize early, but as you mentioned, struggling to get a longer drive put together. And the Bears now trying to settle in as Gabe Padukowicz now into his second quarter of action as a starter for the Bears, looking for a long pass, and this one might be picked off, and it is. Yeah. That one was up in the clouds. Mitch Fettig is on his keister around the 40-yard line, wondering what happened on that one.
Well, the intended receiver, yes, as you said, Mitch Fettig, he turned in and the ball was thrown out. So, so he turned to the inside of the field, but the ball was thrown towards the sideline. And as a receiver, that's probably something you can practice, turning one way and going, whoa, it's the other way. But you can really lose your bearings if you haven't done that a lot. He wasn't able to recover, and it made for a relatively easy interception.
Third turnover for the Bears here as we're still in the early part of the second quarter. Chandler Kelly, the senior cornerback, with that interception. The handoff in the middle for the Bears, or rather for Lake Oswego. That's Holmes again, and he'll get minimal gain off that one.
So the Bears defense is really stiffened up, and there's a play for no gain against a big running back and a big offensive line. So they must be shooting the gaps on the side of part of the defense and plugging up the line, because it just doesn't appear that this defensive line of the Bears could really go head-to-head, man-on-man, to the Lake Oswego offensive line, but they're having good success on defense here recently.
It is Harrison Ramey in at quarterback as he's in for his second series at the helm of the Lake Oswego offense. And he'll take the snap here, looking deep, dump-off pass to Holmes, who scats around one defender and gains close to a first down.
Now, that's what we were talking about earlier, about Holmes' ability to break it outside. In this case, they line him up outside in the beginning. And we've been seeing him run up the middle like a fullback for many plays, but now they have him on the wing. They get the ball to him, and they have him attempt to beat a defender, which he really didn't do, but got enough for the first down. So that shows what the coaching staff thinks that this kid can do in the open field.
The Bears run a 4-3 defense under the tutelage of defensive coordinator Todd McDougal, and they'll have a tough test here with 3rd and less than a yard to go. I formation for the Lakers. They hand it off to Holmes. He's got the first down and more. Gets past the initial group and then gets into near the secondary before he's brought down. I believe the linebacking core able to hang on, but a first down for the Lakers.
Yeah, we'll call Isaiah Brooks as the lead tackler there at 5'7" and 185 pounds. He brought down Holmes at 185, and that's the mirror image of him back in the backfield instead of on the wing, charging it straight up the middle. So a very versatile player. How many coaches at the high school level would really appreciate to have a kid like that could bang it up the middle but also go outside and play speed?
1st and 10 from the 36. 8 minutes to play in the first half. Lake Oswego looking to add to a 14-0 advantage. Here's the handoff again to Holmes, and he's leveled early.
Yeah, he right at the line of scrimmage. And at the bottom of the pile for the Bears, Josh Newbill. And 6'3", 190-pound senior. So a gain of a couple. So it appeared from this angle there was no gain, but he did make some yardage going straight up the middle. But the Bears defense doing very well recently against the running game.
The defense returning just 3 starters from last year. Tanner Hartsock, one of the anchors on that defensive line, along with Kyle Alfonso, both seniors. Ramey out of the shotgun, fakes the handoff. Has a defender in his face, but he unloads, and a big block and a big run down the right sideline as Nick Palomini gets down inside the 10-yard line to the 5. A huge block behind him.
Mitch Lomax with that block. And you always look for if there's any kind of that was a clean block because the defender, it was probably on the side of him. You always wonder if, was that a clip or something like that? It was such a vicious hit. Now, J.B. Holmes, we've seen him run the ball, catch the ball. He threw a block that allowed that quarterback to get that pass off. So J.B. Holmes having a great game on all aspects.
Great catch and run on the Ramey to Palomini connection. And it's Ramey up there looking and assessing the defense as he readies for the snap. Out of the I formation, the give to Holmes, finds some running room, a big hole up the middle, touchdown, Lake Oswego.
Well, that makes it 20-0. And the Bears were playing very competitive, but, one big play, all of a sudden you've got a 3-touchdown game. So something that looked like that was a lot closer than 20-0 a couple of minutes ago, all of a sudden looks like it is a big advantage for the team from the Portland area.
Griffin Graves lining up for the try for point to see if he can push it out to a 21-0 lead. And you're right, Don. A few minutes ago, the Olympia Bears looked to be driving a little bit, and had they put up a score, a much different ball game than we see right now. Graves' kick is blocked, and it is a dead ball there. So the try, no good. Good hustle by the Bears to get in and block that one, and the lead stays at 20-0.
J.J. Schinke on the block, and Tanner Hartsock was in there. I'm not sure which one got it. I believe Schinke got his hands on the ball. So another good defensive play for the Bears that stops at an additional play. Anytime you can keep a point off the board, you're going to take it. Although it is a pretty substantial lead here in the second quarter for Lake Oswego.
Unofficially a 5-yard run for Holmes and Lake Oswego. J.B. Holmes. As we've had 3 different scorers thus far in this one. As it was early on, the quarterback, Justin Rupi, on a 13-yard keeper to get the first score. Then it was an interception return by Jake Anderson. He only had 9 of those last year, picks that is, and he gets his first one here in the first game of the season. That's almost a pick a game for him last year. And then
that's a pretty good average.
Now Holmes with the 5-yard run with 6:52 to go here in the second quarter from Ingersoll Stadium. The 6A state champs of Oregon, the Lake Oswego Lakers, about 37,000 people living in that suburb south of Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And they make the bus trip up here this year. The Olympia Bears will return the favor next year to start the 2013
You know what's
season.
nice about this series here is neither team has to get hotels and do all that. They can do it in a one-day drive. It's fairly low cost for a nice series.
The kickoff fielded by Fettig, and he'll rumble ahead for a few yards, get dropped about the 25-yard line, and that's where the Olympia Bears will set up shop.
And the tackler on that play, you always wish these kids would turn sideways, so that was Romello Washington. Actually, no, the tackler was Chandler Kelly. So he stood his ground. He had a bigger man to tackle and took him down after a decent kick return. Good field position. Anytime you're beyond the 20-yard line, you're happy with that. You're not pinned.
And this is the first of 3 challenging non-league contests for the Olympia Bears, as next week they take on crosstown rival Capital, and then they face Timberline, also a regional team, for the first time since 1990. None of those teams are cupcakes on this early part of the schedule before they dig in to Narrows League action coming up near the end of the month.
Austin Font stopping that running play straight up the middle. No gain on the play. He threw the running back behind the line of scrimmage. It kind of looked like a loss of about 5, but it's going to be a no-gain play.
Gabe Padukowicz, the quarterback, on 2nd and long. Fakes the handoff, looking to set up a pass, and it's complete out to the 35-yard line.
Penalty flag.
But it might be coming back, or it might be a late hit. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Caden Wagner on the completion. It is roughing the passer.
Yep.
So tack on some additional yardage here for the Bears.
15.
And they may work their way into Laker territory for, I believe, the first time in the game.
And the coach immediately took the player out. That was Reed Martin, number 52, who went off the field. The coach is like, oh, late hit, you're going to come off and think about that one for a little while. You know, that really hurts your team because there wasn't much of a gain on that play, but now it turns into quite a big play. You tack on 15 more yards. We're not quite across the 50-yard line, but we're close.
And for the Bears, just a great opportunity to tack on after an outstanding play. A nice grab by Wagner to pull that one down and in traffic. As you know that Padukowicz has to have a short memory after having 2 interceptions already in this first half.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fumble.
Fumble in the middle.
It looks like Lake Oswego recovered. Olympia recovered.
The Bears able to get on top of that one, but just as we talked about trying to build some momentum, another miscue, and very fortunate this time already with 3 turnovers in this game. Looking at potentially a 4th one, but they actually end up getting some yardage out of it and do get into Laker territory.
Yeah, you're right. That's the second time they fumbled and gained about 3 on the play. So
I'm not sure they want to add that to the regular play calling. 2nd and 8, the handoff to the big back. This is Casey Bond. He'll get around the corner, and he carries some guys with him. Best effort here for the Bears as they pick up yet another first down.
Yeah, pretty good crowd. The place isn't packed. A good crowd. Probably 40% of the people here seem to be from Lake Oswego. Maybe you've got 1,500 in the stands. So an excellent high school football environment. And with the Bears seemingly waking up on their offense, getting into Laker territory, maybe something will happen here shortly.
Well, you know, if you just take some of the miscues that the Bears have had out of this one, this game's a lot more even.
Absolutely.
The Bears have really kind of beat themselves with those turnovers. Here's Padukowicz looking long again. His receiver, I think, fell down. No, he finds the man. Alex Johnson on the near sideline keeps a foot in, and the 6'5", 215-pound senior gets another Bear first down. Johnson is a bona fide go-to threat in the passing game. That is indeed the case, and he picks one up here, and the Bears are on their first sustained drive of this one, and you can see Padukowicz gaining some confidence.
Yeah, excellent protection there. Connor Wilimowski, number 79, he's the right offensive tackle. All kinds of time to throw that ball, very well thrown. Nice catch on the part of the receiver. Very smooth, looked very professional.
So Wilimowski, who we had thought earlier today was not going to be in this one, the All-Narrows League player comes in. He works off the right tackle, but this time it's Bond with the carry who gets a couple of yards off the left side of the line.
Well, as you said, if you just factor out a couple of the plays, I mean, this would be an even game. And if you think about it that way, I mean, from as far as we are from looking at this field, Lake Oswego's, they have a much bigger physically team. And I'm just looking at the offensive and the lines, comparing them to each other. So the Olympia coaching staff has got to be very pleased with their own performance and coaching these kids to play a decent game against what seems to be on paper and looking a more powerful team.
3 receivers set, 2 to the near side, offset eye, and Lake Oswego jumping as the Bears, not sure if they decided, hey, let's try to get these guys off the schneid a little bit here and go on a second count, but several Lakers jumping on that one.
Yeah, and that's something that will confuse a lot of people that aren't used to watching high school football. It's like, well, what? They didn't even snap the ball. Well, of course, in high school, if you even so much as go into the zone, the neutral zone, you can't go back. You can't go in and go back like you see on Sunday and on Saturday. So as soon as they entered the neutral zone, it's a 5-yard penalty right there.
And that's for safety.
Yeah, sure.
So it'll bring up 2nd and 3. So 2nd and short. And we'll see, do they go to the run or do they go to the pass? They fake it, and Padukowicz is leveled by Lake Oswego's defense. 2 guys getting in there.
Michael Weiss, a blitz. So he's a linebacker. So they needed to do something to break up the momentum of Olympia. The Lakers coaching staff can see everything that we can see, and that, hey, the Bears are starting to get their mojo here. We got to do something to break it up, send one of our linebackers into the backfield. Now, if he didn't fake the pass and would have ditched it, he would have gotten it off in time, but instead it's a quarterback sack.
So a 3rd and 8 here, and Padukowicz looking to throw again. Again finds a man underneath. He's going to be short of the first down, though. Yeah. Caden Wagner hanging on to it one more time.
Padukowicz. Gabe Padukowicz, he's showing to be a poised, accurate quarterback. He just got hit hard by the middle linebacker, got up, got back in the backfield, threw an accurate pass, and moved his team forward. It wasn't a big gain, but he's an excellent quarterback is what it looks like at this juncture of the game, especially in the first game of the year. You might expect a quarterback to get a little bit rattled in the first game of the year after just being hit on a middle linebacker blitz.
Padukowicz going for it on 4th down with the Bears. Pass is complete for a first down inside the 10-yard line.
And Padukowicz is thanking his protection. He knows that Wilimowski was there blocking for him, and he also had a running back, Jake Spiller, on pass protection that gave him the time to make that 4th down conversion.
Alex Johnson on that critical reception with 2:13 to go in the first half. Bears trying to get on the board after a 20-0 start by the Lakers. And Gabe Padukowicz had a defender bearing down on him, was fortunate to get rid of that one, even though an incomplete. You live to play another down.
Yeah, and it's easy to second-guess a quarterback and say, hey, that receiver was open. But, when you're sitting in the so-called proverbial armchair, everything looks easy. He saw, hey, man, the play's breaking down. I'm dumping this thing, and I'm throwing it near my receiver. An excellent, experienced play.
Keep an eye on Mitch Fettig. He's split out wide to the left side. Padukowicz out of the shotgun. Blitz coming. He hands it off up the middle, and minimal gain for Jake Spiller.
And we have a timeout called.
With 1:57 to go in the first half, 3rd down and goal to go for about the 10-yard line. The Bears decide, let's use one of these timeouts. It's the first one used thus far. Play on Sports is on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us on Play on Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/playonnetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week from your destination for high school sports, playonsports.com. And some of the stuff you'll see up there, that big win by Bellevue over Trinity of Texas last night, as well as one of the upcoming foes for Olympia. They'll take on Gig Harbor on October 12th. Well, Gig Harbor opened last night against O'Day. That game also on playonsports.com.
The Bears have a chance to score here with less than 2 minutes to go in the first half, and that would be a great morale booster going into the locker room. Now, you mentioned Bellevue's victory. Every team in the Northwest wants to emulate their success, and that's all about coaching. So,
third and goal to go from the 10. Padukowicz setting up the screen again. This one off the hands of Alex Johnson, and that one thrown just a little bit too high. They were looking for that middle screen and could not hang on, and it looks like they will go for it here on fourth down as Padukowicz looking to the sideline to his offensive coordinator and head coach, Bill Beattie.
Nick Underwood, the middle linebacker for the Lakers, as another timeout is called by the Bears at a minute 48. Left to go in the second quarter. He was he's a linebacker core. Underwood is for part of the linebacking core for Lake Oswego, and they didn't bite on that screen whatsoever. The linebackers stood their ground. So when the pass was thrown to the halfback that was about to make the catch, he was like triple covered. So that play was going nowhere, and that they had seen a screen play earlier in the game from the Bears that went nowhere. And the coaching staff told their team, hey, look for that screen. That's the only way you totally get unfaked by a play like that, as your coach has told you, stick your ground, don't go for that play.
Lake Oswego losing 6 starters from their defense last year, looking to rebuild, and so far against a 4A power here in the state of Washington, they've held them scoreless. Unfortunately for the Olympia Bears, it has been mostly due to the turnovers and the miscues early on in this one.
I wonder how big Lake Oswego in terms of student body is. You got a 6A school, must be the largest classification. And then, of course, 4A, the largest classification here. So it's just, but it does
matter.
Semantics,
Don, because they don't have the B classification in Oregon. So that's where it all makes sense.
Okay.
Big fourth down play here for Padukowicz. Defenders all in his face. He heaves it for the end zone, just off the hands of a leaping Mitch Fettig, and they'll turn it over on downs. But a heck of an effort for Olympia in their best sustained drive in this one. They're saying we're down 20-0. We're going to go for it here on fourth down instead of settling to get some points on the board.
Mitch Fettig, as you mentioned, Alex, was the intended receiver. Chandler Kelly was on coverage, and there was some contact right before the ball got there, and it was the defender hitting the offensive player, and no flag came out. And something you're going to get in a big game like this in the beginning of the season, you're going to have an excellent officiating crew. They have the best officials take these big games. So that was an excellent non-call.
Chuck Stewart, the referee in this one with his crew, doing a great job in the early going of this one. Big run early on, up for a first down and more. This is Romello Washington on the carry for the Lakers.
And you could see maybe a little bit of a letdown there on the Bears. I mean, they didn't get into the end zone. That was their big shot. It didn't work. And right away, bam, a 13-yard gain on the part of the Lakers.
Check that. J.B. Holmes on the carry. We should know that. He's been carrying a lot of the load for Lake Oswego. Justin Rupi back in for this series, and he laterals one inadvisedly. They're going to call it a pass. Incomplete pass. Boy, a shovel pass that must have been coming forward as opposed to backwards, because if it had gone backwards, it would have been a lateral, but they would have retained because it went out of bounds.
Exactly. So as you pointed out, it didn't matter if the ball had stayed in bounds. It would have mattered whatever the officials called, and I don't think there was any doubt about that. You know, the official who made the call, who was the umpire right over the ball there, had a great angle to look at that play to see that it was forward.
So Justin Rupi, who started the game at quarterback for Lake Oswego, they mentioned in advance they were going to have a two-headed quarterback. Harrison Ramey leading that last touchdown drive. And it is Rupi here. Shovel pass in between to Holmes, who's got some running room. Look at him scatter across the 35-yard line. He just stutters those feet and keeps on moving.
Yeah, he received that forward pitch, turned around, there was nobody there. There was no defenders there. So it was like, whoa, I'm open field, which I'm sure is what the play is designed to do. So it's sort of like a screenplay. Let the offensive line loosen up, let the defenders come on in, and bam, your big running back's wide open there.
1:07 to go, and Rupi looking deep now as this one is caught and held onto despite the big hit, as it is once again Mitch Lomax, the 240-pound tight end, rumbling across the middle. Great hands for Lomax, and yet another first down as we have exactly a minute to go in this second quarter, and it's now down to the 44-yard line. So quickly, Lake Oswego coming the other way.
Mitch Fettig with the hit, a much lighter player, put a hurt on the receiver.
Rupi looking for his two receivers on the right side, is going to tuck it and run. Gets a first down, and he's hit hard down near the 30-yard line. He'll get to the 32.
And Lake Oswego, they're playing their 2-minute offense, and they're executing very well. They changed the complexion of their offense completely on this drive from whatever they were doing fairly conservative. It's like, hey, now we're going to pull out the stops, and we're pretending maybe we're down by 20 versus up.
45 seconds in counting. Lake Oswego leading 20-0, trying to add to it here before halftime. Rupi stutter steps a couple of times, then hurls it complete up ahead on the near sideline to Nick Palomini.
And it's starting to get a little bit dark here. Good lighting in the stadium. And, of course, field turf. I'm sure that's what this is. An excellent facility for these kids to play on, as Lake Oswego is driving under 30 seconds to play in the half.
Ingersoll Stadium here in Olympia, Washington.
Timeout.
To the south of the state capitol, and we will have a timeout taken here with 29 seconds left, as I think they got that clock rolling just enough time to take that timeout, as the Lakers here with another timeout remaining after this, according to the scoreboard. So 29 seconds left to go, and a chance to remind you that PlayOnSports.com is not only your destination for Friday night football action, but it's also the place for the most comprehensive coverage of high school playoff and championship events in all sports from across the country. PlayOnSports.com. High school sports lives here.
So as the Lakers attempt to get into the end zone to make this even a wider lead, obviously Olympia wants to keep it right where it's at so they can go into the locker room and attempt to regroup. But the only problem with that is that the Lakers also get to go into the locker room and think about how to turn up the heat on their opponent. And, we could, J.B. Holmes, we don't have the stats at our fingertips. We don't have any stats at our fingertips, but he's probably touched the ball at least 15 times this evening. And so we can only imagine he will be doing so again here. And we saw them swing. They swung him out on the flat once, and that was a successful play. But we've only seen that once. So if we wanted to see them try anything different in this 2-minute drill, it might be something thrown to him on the outside.
Trips to the right, the wide side of the field here for Justin Rupi. In the shotgun, takes the snap and looks across the middle. He's got a receiver, and it was the tight end, I think, Fettig. No, it was not. It was Nick Palomini, the taller receiver, not the tight end Lomax that he was looking for there. He was looking straight on towards that middle of the field, and the defender got in there, and you could see he was chasing the eyes a little bit.
Yeah, that was Jacob Wright who was defending. It was in a good position to break that play up. And they did have J.B. Holmes fake a little bit of pass protection and roll him out on the left, but the quarterback never looked at him. So he had them as a safety valve, but went down over the middle because that was his best option on that play. 24
seconds remaining and only one scoreboard here, and actually with a clock on it, and the Lakers are going away from it. Shovel pass underneath just in time. This is Holmes, and he'll get tackled after about a 5-yard gain, but 15 seconds remaining, and Lake Oswego trying to get on the ball quickly. They look around, 9 seconds remaining, and now they get the snap and they spike it.
So they do have a timeout. They're obviously saving that, according to the scoreboard, which I think is accurate. But that was a very quick reacting team to get on the ball. See how fast they got back on that ball to snap it? I mean, they were way faster than the defense, and they were way faster than the officiating crew. So that's another thing that's practice. So they've been working on this 2-minute drill quite a bit here over the summer.
Well, and it looks like they're going to try for a field goal with 6 seconds remaining. After the spike, it is now 4th down. So it's 4th and 6. It's going to be at the 18, spotted for the kick from the 25. So a 35-yard try is blocked, and it's picked up.
And that's a live ball.
Fettig almost eluded one defender, and he would have been off to the races.
Yep. And we'll credit the block to J.J. Schinke, which would be his second. He had a hand on the first one, and that was an exciting play because the Bears have a few things going for them. They have a decent kick game going, and that could have been picked, as you mentioned earlier, when the extra point was blocked. That was a dead ball. That was live on this one.
Yeah, and there was no runoff on the clock, and that's what the official time break in the action here is right now as Chuck Stewart, the referee, trying to assess with his team how much time should have come off. They're putting 3 seconds on the clock, but I think the Bears, with 3 seconds remaining in their own territory, are opt to take a knee, perhaps, to head into the locker room and avoid any other miscues. But Lake Oswego, second time in a row they've had a kick block.
Yep.
And, gosh, Fettig just one defender away from potentially breaking that one for what would be a momentum swinger here at the end of this first half.
And Gabe Padukowicz to throw, be the fun go long kind of a fan. He's got a good arm. He's thrown some good balls in this game. They're spreading out a couple of wide receivers, so I vote for them not kneeling down and seeing what they can do. I don't know how that could really hurt you. I guess you could get an interception return, but in this situation, you would probably throw the ball in such a way to avoid that.
Well, Padukowicz looks like he's in the prevent taking knee. Nope, they're going to fake it, and they hand it off to Fettig, and Fettig on the sweep try is leveled there, and that's how we'll end the first half. So they do try to go for it a little bit, but a safe handoff. And at the end of our first half of action, it is the Lancers, or rather the Lakers of Lake Oswego, with the 20-0 lead over the host Bears of Olympia High School. That is our halftime score, and we invite you not to go anywhere. It's Friday Night Football on PlayOnSports.com, your destination for high school sports. We'll be back in a few minutes with the PlayOnSports.com second half. Stay tuned. You're watching PlayOnSports.com's presentation of Friday Night Football live from Ingersoll Stadium here in Olympia, Washington. I'm Alex Webster along with Don Bushell. The Lakers of Lake Oswego lead the Olympia High School Bears 20-0 after the first 2 quarters of play. We're now ready to start the second half of action. And unfortunately for the Olympia Bears, turnovers were the big story of the first half.
Yeah, it didn't start out well for the Bears, and they will look at the films tomorrow and shake their heads when they see, well, they don't need to see the fumble on the opening kickoff. They don't ever want to see that again. But their first touch of 2012 ended up being a turnover in their own red zone. So, and Lake Oswego recovered, and before the game was 1 minute old, the Lakers had scored and taken the lead. And then on the next drive, when the Bears had the football, they threw downfield, and Jack Anderson picked off for the second turnover, picked off the pass and ran it back 41 yards. And so at 2.5 minutes into the game, it was already a 14-0 game. And so, and the team from Lake Oswego with the advantage there. And you know, when you got your back against the wall, down 2 touchdowns after 2 minutes, for one, you have a big chore to get back into the game. Secondly, it's easy to become deflated emotionally. I mean, it's a big game. You've been waiting all summer, and, all of a sudden, all the wind is out of the sail there. So now it's the coach is like, okay, kids, we got to get going. And then the Bears played good football played with their team, even a little bit better than Lake Oswego for the next, quarter and a half. But then J.B. Holmes again scores a touchdown. They a couple of bright spots and that was a long drive on the part of Lake Oswego. A bright spot defensively was they're able to play the run pretty well against Lake Oswego, were the Olympia Bears, and they've also blocked 2 kicks.
Yeah, and those blocks huge. Otherwise, this could be an even further, a bigger hole for the Bears to try and climb out of. But you saw them coming out of the locker room doing their warm-ups. No energy loss there. They are still excited, I'm sure, to come out and restart this game as if it is 0-0.
Now, on the side of the Bears, to state the case for them, they've got an excellent quarterback, Gabe Padukowicz, and he's thrown very well and has had good decision-making in the first half. So you look at the scoreboard, and as you said, it's 20-0, could have been 21. Well, you look at that, I'm sure the coaches at halftime are saying, hey, look, if we come back in this game, we can win this game with 3 touchdowns. I mean, hey, 3 touchdowns in a half for a team of this caliber, certainly last year coming in 5th in state, is very, very doable. So at this point, Olympia is their heads in the game. They have an excellent home crowd, a gorgeous night for football. I'm not sure if our fans have been able to see the moon rising over the trees over there, but if things are going to align for the Bears in the second half tonight, it'd be a perfect night for that.
Well, and the way things are going right now, they did have a good burst of energy in that second quarter, and I think one of the big things is really, other than one drive, this could be a whole different ball game without that opening kickoff fumble, without that interception return for a touchdown. You take those 2 big plays out of the way, it's 7-0.
And when the teams were playing their standard brand of football, in the beginning, the Bears were overcome by their own mistakes. Well, after they got past the mistakes and the teams were playing football evenly with each other without throwing tricks in their bag of tricks at each other, the Bears were outplaying Lake Oswego. What you saw happen in the last drive when Lake Oswego scored again, they had to, first to stop the Bears, they had to start blitzing. And then they had to start shovel passing. So, true, Lake Oswego is in the driver's seat in this game, but they had to go to more deeper into their play calling to keep the advantage on the Bears. So the Bears are playing a good game.
Well, Lake Oswego will have the ball, or at least they'll receive the kick here to start the second half. One thing we did want to mention is today, just a fantastic celebration of football and history here in Olympia. Today, before the game, they honored longtime referee Tom Jones Sr. At age 77, he officiated in contests here in the South Sound for the past 40 years in either football or basketball. He was responsible for the start of the South Sound Officials Association, of which the officials for tonight's game are part of. So a fantastic honoring of Tom Jones Sr. before the contest. And in fact, before that, even this afternoon, Lake Oswego and Olympia having a JV game. Afterwards tonight, there's a barbecue, as I understand, as well. So some real camaraderie and energy being built around this celebration of interstate football play against a couple of perennial powers.
And it's difficult for the officiating associations to get people to join, to be referees and to be officials. So and people like to take pot shots at officials. Oh, look at those bad calls and everything. But hey, you got to have these guys out here. Otherwise, these kids' games can't really happen.
Gabe Padukowicz, the quarterback, also the kicker, gets this one to the 5-yard line where it's fielded by Romello Washington, and he's leveled at the 20. And that's where Lake Oswego will start their opening series here of the third quarter. Just 6 seconds gone. They have the 20-0 lead, and we'll see which quarterback comes out, as it was Justin Rupi who had started for the Lakers, and then Harrison Ramey came in about the second quarter, and we'll see who it is that comes back out this time. Rupi will take the first series here, it looks, and we'll see if we see Harrison Ramey back into the contest a little bit later. Out of the shotgun with a receiver to either side. This is a double tight end formation for the Lakers. So a little bit of a different formation. They hand it off to Holmes, who's stuffed as he tries the middle. A host of blue shirts of the Olympia Bears.
And leading the charge defensively, Tanner Hartstock. And again, a broken record, I'm sure, but the defensive line beat the offensive line in that play. True, it was no gain, so you can say, well, it's kind of a draw, but no, the defensive line got back in there and stopped it. And this is a well-coached defensive line for Olympia. They're playing against a very good offensive line and doing a nice job.
So no tight ends this time, 4 receivers with 3 to the right. And again, the Lakers looking to air it out here on 2nd and 10. Nearly a sack, and now the run by Rupi evades 2 defenders on this play, finally scatters out of bounds after he gets past the 35-yard line for the first down, but he's got some speed.
Yeah, Randy Jones of the Bears secondary. He'll turn his head when this play comes up when he's watching later tonight, because he got juked pretty seriously on that play. He could have stopped it after a gain of 7 or 8. It would have been a hefty gain. But the footwork of the Lake Oswego quarterback broke that into a much bigger play.
Could have been a sack back deep, but it turns into a big gainer. A pickup of 26, or rather 16 on the play. Here's the handoff through the middle, and this time I believe it is Spencer Anderson on the carry this time. A good gain, and it'll bring up 2nd and short.
A senior, James Bagley, on the stop. A gain of 7, which is a very good first down play. So you got a chance to regroup. Both coaches. It's kind of a coaching duel at halftime. Who's going to get their team moving first? And at the moment, it seems like Lake Oswego moving the ball quite well out of the chute here in the third quarter.
Rupi will bring him to the line, and this time with a receiver either side. 2nd and 4, a short 4. Quick drop, and here's the heave down the right sideline. Got a man, he's open and has it in stride. He may go. And down near the pylon, did he get in? They will mark him out of bounds just shy. Big gain on the big throw and run. Connor Griffin on the other end of that pass, the 6'4 senior with the great catch and run.
Yeah, there's a penalty flag back where the quarterback was, and it's a roughing the passer, which will be a non-penalty. Obviously, the Lake Oswego team will forget the 15 yards and take 47 yards any day of the week. And that was such a perfectly thrown football. A deep ball down the right sideline, perfectly in stride. It looked like it was a bit overthrown, but no, that quarterback knew how fast his receiver was, and he caught up with it. Excellent play.
Yeah, he did not have to break stride at all. Caught it right in his hands over the shoulder.
Yep.
And I believe we'll have to see. I think they're marking half the distance to the goal for the personal foul penalty. So They got it close to the end zone. They're going to be even closer, and we'll see who they go with, perhaps out of the backfield for another run, because this was the end zone that Holmes had his 5-yard run on in the second quarter. So Lake Oswego on the huge play. First it was Rupi with his feet, and then with the arm. And we'll see what they do here out of the I formation. Multiple tight ends here in this one. The handoff up the middle, pushing the line, but it is the Bears, I think, that got the surge. Nope, it is just enough for the Lakers to get in for their third, make that fourth touchdown of the ball game. And it comes with 9:56 to go here in the third quarter. And it makes it 26-0 with the point, the try for point coming up. And, of course, the last two kicks that have been attempted have been blocked by the Bears.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, who blocked those? So that's J.J. Schinke blocked the last couple. So the question is, where is he? And I'm sure the Lake Oswego offensive line is aware of his location.
Not sure who it was that got the carry. They were way down there by the end zone. Here's the kick. This one is up and good, no block. And it will make it a 27-0 affair as Lake Oswego takes the opening kickoff here of the second half, and on a couple of big plays, one with Rupi with his feet, and then on the great connection for well over 50 yards down to the 2-yard line, then to the 1 on the penalty. They get the quick one-play touchdown run right after that.
Mm-hmm. So here you have 2 minutes gone in the third quarter. And in the first half, you know, people could look back and say, well, you know, Lake Oswego could have, you know, they weren't that great. We made a couple of mistakes. Well, they kind of put that whole argument aside there by coming out here in the opening drive and pretty much putting it to the Bears. They were on their heels in the first play or two, but then after that it was dominance on the part of the Lakers.
So Lake Oswego with the big lead. They'll be kicking off from right to left here as we wait for the official to bring the football out to the tee. And it will be Griffin Graves, the 5'11 junior kicker, who will tee this one up. And the Bears now, who look to have early momentum on that drive, but gosh, the big play really caught up to him, and it was just the case of a speedy guy getting past the defender and then getting hit in stride with the pass.
Yeah, it was the case of a perfect pass by an excellent quarterback. I mean, he couldn't throw a better pass than that. There's no way a defender could get to it. It was a well-run route. Excellent play call by the coaching staff.
Graves put a strong right leg into this one, and this one, I believe, is Fettig back deep. He eludes one defender, reverses his field a little bit, splits through another hole, and loses the ball almost, I think. No, that was just a heads-up hit right in the middle by one of the Lakers. My goodness, that was a hit. I thought that ball had come loose, but I think that might have been his head and helmet snapping back a little bit. That looked like it might have popped out of there.
Neil, yeah, that's it. It was his head that, you know, no one nearly knocked anybody's head off. But, I mean, he hit him hard, Neil Wegener, and it was a head-to-head hit. Now, the officials, they would scrutinize that and go, now, was that intentional? Because, you know, that's how people get hurt. Sometimes those things just happen, and that was one heck of a hit on special teams.
Padukowicz will have the pitch out to his running back, who gets dropped for perhaps no gain, maybe a loss behind the line of scrimmage, or maybe minimal gain. We'll see if they move the sticks, and it looks like they're inching it backwards. So the pitch to the left side to Casey Bond was sniffed out well by the Lakers.
Yeah, the defenders on that play, the lead tackler, Chase Otis, and Spencer Anderson had an assist. So they were able to string that play out, keep containment, make that runner go upfield versus get to the sideline.
And we've got a hanky, some laundry on the field before we could get play, and I think there might have been movement or delay of game. Not sure which one.
Okay.
Chuck Stewart, the referee, will tell us. And a little
false start.
Early movement.
Yeah, early movement.
Yeah. So the Bears will take another 5 yards backwards, and what had started out as 1st and 10 is now 2nd and 16 after the 1 yard loss on the pitch, and now the 5 yard penalty. A little misdirection as they change things up. And running up ahead, the Bears go. And that is, I believe, Caden Wagner. And it is. Gets it out near the 28-yard line, maybe to the 27. Nice little gain on the run. It'll bring up still 3rd and long.
Excellent execution on the blocking. Again, you've got Connor Wolomoski leading the charge there on the right side of the offensive line.
A fake on the misdirection, and the QB looking for his receiver, and he finds him on the sideline. Do they count it at midfield? And the official marking it, yes, just into Lakers territory. And I believe that was Alex Johnson, as we've seen him kind of drag across the middle near the sideline. Yeah. A second or third excellent catch near that sideline for Johnson.
It was an excellent offensive play, as you said, Alex. And Chandler Kelly was a defender, and he was in disbelief. He wanted the officials, no, incomplete, but it was like, oh, man. You thought that would have been an incomplete pass. It seemed to be thrown out of bounds, but he did a nice job hauling it in.
Padukowicz with the short throw to Spiller down underneath. He'll get some gain, but it will be about 5 yards on the pickup as Spiller running into some contact after the reception.
Padukowicz throwing the ball twice in a row very well. Unfortunately, his team's down by 4 touchdowns. Olympia is a very good team. I just can't imagine them having a bad start like they had against in this game. In future games, they'll learn from that. They'll be tough to beat. They may not be able to come back in this one, but watch out future opponents.
Padukowicz bringing a man in motion. Across the middle, he'll hand it off. Will Padukowicz, and Spiller is dropped for maybe the gain of a shoelace. Not much on the gain by Spiller, but you're right. This is the beginning of the season, and for a team like Olympia, 3 tough non-league contests right off the bat.
Yeah, the stop by Andrew Wren and Mitch Lomax, and the defense of Lake Oswego showed a lot of speed there. The Bears ran the ball to the outside, and they stayed at the line of scrimmage and moved out and went right with the flow of the offense and stopped them for a minimal gain.
3rd and 5, and the Lakers showing a little bit of a stunt, and they bring a linebacker around the outside. That's the one that's in Padukowicz's face and forces the high throw as he had to get rid of it. They originally had that linebacker creeping up in the middle and then brought the outside linebacker on the stunt, and that forced the high throw and really didn't give the Bears much of a chance.
A smart play by the quarterback of Olympia as you said, one, the middle linebacker was blitzing. It was in his face. Number 2 was the intended receiver. He threw it way over his head, but he was well covered. It was one of those plays, if he actually tried to throw it to the intended receiver, probably would have been picked and returned for a touchdown.
So Padukowicz, the quarterback, he handles the kickoffs and he handles the punts. And this right-footed boot is high up in the air. That is an excellent boot. Fair catch called for, and this one's going to bounce behind the defender, who's able to stumble on it close to the goal line. It's where he first touched it, and that'll be at the 5, and that's where they'll spot it. So a little bit of misdirection by the punt returner for the Lakers to try and get the defense away from the ball, but he didn't do enough of a fake to get the coverage away from it to allow it to bounce into the end zone.
So I wonder when the last time the Lakers have been shut out, the Bears have been shut out. I bet you that hasn't happened in a while.
I'll bet you it's been a while. They were 9-2 last year. Of course, the last loss coming in the opening round of the 4A playoffs last year. But a team that has tradition, consistency, quality coaching, as Bill Beattie in his 18th year here at the helm. In fact, you've got some All-American coaching, as both head coaches were All-Americans as players back in the day. More on that in a moment, because it looks like we're going to come back for a re-kick, an illegal shift, I believe.
Yep, that's what so it's I didn't see a flag, and, sometimes they throw the flag and there's yellow stripes and stuff out there. You can miss it. But an illegal shift means that all 11 players have to come to an absolute stop, and then only one guy can move. So if all 11 guys on the offense don't come to an absolute stop and moving around, 2 players in motion, they call that an illegal shift.
Well, it's a 5-yard penalty, but we'll see what the real damage is after this punt and potential return, as the Lakers will let this one bounce. It might get even out of bounds. Will they get it at the 1? Oh, my goodness. A 5-yard penalty will net them an extra 4 yards and pin the Lakers back at the 2.
Yeah, the old guys call that the coffin corner kick. And I'm not sure it was planned, but I'm sure the punter was, oh, yeah, I planned that totally. I mean, it was down at the 5 before. We needed to get it back to the 5 now. And so, I mean, to get another kick like that after a penalty, that's good luck or a lot of skill. So we'll give the kids a skill score, you know.
If you look at it from Lake Oswego's standpoint and the coaching staff would say, hey, we're going to practice our 98-yard drive right here. So let's see what you guys can do with your backs up against the wall. But I think we might see a steady diet of some running to get a little room. And the new quarterback into the game, or rather the former quarterback that had seen time in the second quarter, Harrison Ramey, he's in there, and a quick handoff to their big back, J.B. Holmes, and Holmes gets them a little bit of room, but not much.
James Bagley with the tackle. It looked like he horse-collared his kind of a dangerous grab, you know, where you kind of got somebody around the neck. But it's a legal way of tackling as long as you don't have the helmet or the face mask. So it can look bad, but totally legal and a good defensive play.
Out of the I formation, the Lakers will see if they run their power running game here. Harrison Ramey will hand it off again, and it is some power running as they go off of right tackle, and this time it is Ben Torkelson, I believe, with the carry.
Mitch Fettig, he's a defensive back. Generally, the last line of defense makes the tackle. You don't want your, defensive backs being your leading tacklers. That means your offensive line is not really doing a job. Their defensive line is not making the run stopping. So, but, you'll take it versus what you could get is no tackle in the secondary and a long touchdown run.
Check it. Spencer Anderson with that big carry. Good enough for the first down. And I think we may have an issue with the clock. It says 5:20. They're putting it back up to 5:30 because they didn't stop it when they moved the chains. It's opening night for everyone as we're all trying to get into the swing of things here on Friday night high school football. And we got a good season coming up for you here in the state of Washington and in the state of Oregon as well. So out of the I formation, Ramey brings them out and barks the signals here with 5:23 and counting down in the third quarter. 27-0 lead for Lake Oswego. Another big handoff, and here goes Spencer Anderson, finally dragged down out of bounds, but not before he picks up close to 30 yards on the run.
And we were just talking about Mitch Fettig. That could have been a touchdown-saving tackle. We were just referring to the tackle he made on the last play. So there's your last line of defense. Again, a running play, the tackle being made by your safety. So, the defensive coaches of Olympia have got to be looking at this going, uh-oh. In the first half, we were playing mano-a-mano against this good team from Oregon in terms of the running game, and all of a sudden, they're busting through the defensive line, and their safeties are making the plays now.
32 yards on the big run for Spencer Anderson, and he remains in the game. He's a big body back there. 6'2", 200-pound senior. He'll go in motion this time. The quick handoff to the fullback, and he darts around a couple of defenders, stiff arms one guy, and is still running down the sideline until he's dragged down. That is Nick Underwood, the fullback, 6'1", 215-pound junior. He'll be back next year.
And that's why you don't want your defensive secondary. I mean, you have those guys out there to play the pass. And there was a missed tackle that resulted in about 10 more yards because the fullback is huge and the defensive back, isn't very huge. So now Olympia's got to do something. They've got to do a little blitzing or do something to disrupt the running game that's developing because Lake Oswego's about ready to run these guys over the way they're going.
Well, both these teams list their offense as multiple, and we've seen a variety of sets and a variety of tendencies out of both teams. And so far, right now, it is the running game that's making the difference. Harrison Ramey on the big rollout, looking deep, run-pass option. He neglects to pull it down and will get about 3 or 4 before he's finally dragged out of bounds.
And, of course, the old adage is that the running game sets up the passing game, and now we're seeing a lot of run successfully on the part of the Lakers. But in the previous drive, they threw that excellent pass for, 47 yards or whatever it was. And so they've gone from a passing attack, and now it's an all-running attack, and they're throwing everything at Olympia.
And Olympia and Lake Oswego, both teams that, again, are going to play some non-league contests before, and so real opportunities to learn about their squads before the real games in league that matter for their playoff standing start to happen later in the month of September. Handoff up the middle, minimal gain. And so Lake Oswego will have third down coming up, a rare third down opportunity. But for Lake Oswego, they're expected to rule their league once again, the Three Rivers 6A League, down in their neck of the woods, where their foes, West Lynn, Canby, Clackamas, Lake Ridge, and Oregon City will be there. Olympia expected to be a contender in the Narrows League 4A. Bellarmine Prep is a team that's thought of being right up there at the top with them. Here's the third down play from Lake Oswego. They hand off to Anderson again. Not sure if he got there. It's going to be close.
And he did come up short from this angle. They had help from the secondary, but now the Bears defensive line is getting a little bit into the mix. On the prior play, James Bagley, a big man, he made the tackle to stop that one. And the runner who came across the defensive line, he had to change direction because there was a lot of interference. True, Randy Jones made the tackle, a defensive back, but it was enough here to prevent the first down play.
Underwood, the fullback, and it is Anderson, the I-back here as they go for it on 4th and 1. It will be a pass, and the throw by Ramey for the end zone is caught. Touchdown, Lake Oswego. Oh, my goodness. Connor Griffin high-pointing that ball, pulling it in, and eluding the defender to get into the end zone.
And Cooper Murphy on coverage. He had great position, but the problem there was it was a great matchup because Murphy is 5'8", and the man who caught the football 6'4". So as you see a matchup like that developing out there as you're an offensive coordinator, you know the coaches are keeping their eyes open. They see that's a 6-inch mismatch. Even though the defender had the position, still a well-thrown ball, and that's really what made that play. You still score.
The kick this time is up, and it is good. And so the Lakers now out to a 34-0 lead as the defending state champions at the 6A level in the state of Oregon, just picking up where they left off, trying to keep that winning streak going. That 25-yard touchdown pass from Harrison Ramey to Connor Griffin, capping a 98-yard drive for the Lakers of Lake Oswego.
And you did say they were going to work on their 98-yard drive, game plan, right?
Well,
so,
they also worked on what they want to do on 4th and 1 as well. And apparently it is the go for broke down the middle of the field.
Yeah, it's like 4th and 1, okay, go for the end zone,
But, we talked about this. This is a couple of teams with tradition, and Lake Oswego last year ranked number 23 in the ESPN Powerade Fab 50, number 25 in the nation by Rivals High 100. They were 14-0. They decimated their competition in the state championship game, Sheldon, 47-14, and they were looking to have to reload because they lost players of the caliber of Stephen Long, who had 322 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in that championship game. You just don't go about replacing that on a whim. And so you're regrouping every year. But this is a team that has 30 seniors. It's also a team that knows how to win. They expect to compete at the highest level, and they're participating at that right now. Olympia, also a team that has made a long history of success here in the state of Washington, and they're going to bounce back from this one. Not a deep kick, but fielded around the 12-yard line by Olympia, and some good running in traffic by the Bears to get it out past the 30-yard line, and that's where they'll try and start their first scoring drive of this ball game.
Now, that's probably the best field position Olympia's had to start a drive. Now you mentioned that the 30 seniors, and with the success of a team like Lake Oswego, you talked about Bellevue earlier. I mean, Bellevue wins over and over, and you start hearing people crying out, well, how do they do this? Is there recruiting going on? I mean, how do you stay so successful, right? You've heard that kind of stuff. So I wonder in the Lake Oswego area if people have some discretion to go to that school versus others, because that you're going to attract football talent to a program like that.
These are both programs that have long histories of success, and no doubt that will continue as they go here for the Bears with a run up the middle to pick up about 3 yards. The Bears in their 18th year under the helm of Bill Beattie, and we talked about how this is an All-American coaching duo here. Bill Beattie, an honorable mention NAIA All-American as an offensive tackle at Central Washington back in 1982, but not to be outdone. Steve Curry, successful career at Oregon State. He was an All-American wide receiver in 1979.
Wow, yeah, that's some good pedigree.
Here's a handoff on the fly sweep for the Bears, and this one may get ahead for the first down, and it will on the fly sweep. Nick Palomini, or check that rather, Colin Corder, 5'10 sophomore, a 150-pound running back with the first down carry.
Yeah, you don't see those, that what you refer to as the fly offense a lot, which is you do a lot of end-around kind of action, and Willamette University down in Oregon kind of made that famous. They've been running that thing for years, but that was a successful play. You keep it on the outside like that, get some more Padukowicz passing. Yeah, maybe you could break this goose egg on the scoreboard.
Padukowicz back deep. He's flushed from the pocket, running. Thought about throwing across the body, then he tucks it and takes the sack.
Well,
1:38 left to go in the third quarter here from Ingersoll Stadium in beautiful Olympia, Washington tonight.
Well, I'm sure these kids are having a great time. You know, the team from Oregon, you know, they're loving it. They're leading. And even the team that's down, you know, you see some people saying, well, you know, it's 34-0. Let's get this over quick. And the kids are like, no, let us get in there. You know, let this game go till midnight, you know. The last thing they want to see is the clock tick down, even when they're down by 7 touchdowns.
4 yards on the loss. So 2nd and 14. A little bit of movement, but no penalty flag on the left defensive tackle. As he moved into the, it had a little bit of movement. He didn't get into the neutral zone, but a carry here, and it'll bring up 3rd and pretty long.
Yeah, 5-touchdown lead. Sorry about that. You know, someone will say, well, what school did that guy go to? Can't do the math, you know. Anyway, bail myself out of that one.
So 3rd and long, Padukowicz will have a receiver to either side and a little helper back there as he surveys the scene and tries to find something that'll get him about 10 yards for the first down. Set rollout to the right as the whole line moves with him, and he's got to complete to Fettig, who had the first down and then almost ducked back behind it, but he falls forward and will pick up 12 on the reception, and the Bears will keep the chains moving.
That was an athletic play. He didn't get any yards after the catch there, but he made the catch, was like, hey, I got to make some moves. He was immediately stopped by the Lakers' Jordan Horak, but you got to like that. It's still a heads-up game. We're still looking to score. And, you know, hey, Olympia, that was a quick hitter over the middle. They've had a good passing game tonight. The running game hasn't done that much, but, you know, keep passing. They've come out here, and as we see the end of the quarter, but, you know, they've done a little bit too much running this half. I think their best bet is to pass.
34-0, the Lakers of Lake Oswego leading the Bears of Olympia High School as we reach the end of the third quarter. Both teams will talk things over with their team. Here's something you can talk about with your friends. Play On Sports is on Facebook and Twitter. I think everybody's on Facebook and Twitter, but Play On Sports, that's where you want to go. We're giving you the news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us on Play On Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week from your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
One of the officials before the game was mentioning that a rule change this year. So occasionally you'll see a hit and a kid's helmet will come off. Well, this year, if you see that, it's required that kid whose helmet came off, they have to leave the game for one play. Unless, of course, somebody else took his helmet off. So we haven't seen that. We've seen a couple of hits where maybe a helmet could have come off, but that would be new this year.
That's a new rule in the collegiate ranks as well, as they continue to look at ways to improve safety for the players. Here's a not-so-safe play. Huge running. I think that's Spiller that makes that big dazzling run for yet another first down. It goes from the 45 down to the 29-yard line. So a 16-yard pickup on the juke and jive run by Jake Spiller.
Yeah, 26. And the Jordan Horak was the tackler. I'm not sure if the tackle needed. It looked like the runner's momentum was going to take him out of bounds anyway. But, that was an excellent play in terms of running that. We haven't seen that much action out of the backfield for Olympia tonight.
Padukowicz with the handoff on the fly sweep to Fettig, who lumbers ahead for a few yards and is brought down after about a 3-4 yard pickup. It'll bring up second and some good yardage still to go. But for Olympia, this is a nice-looking drive, and the thing that they want to do is continue to build on the efforts that they have. They have already, at least at this point, eliminated some of those mistakes from the first half. That first quarter, the first two series, just not what they were looking for. They want to build some momentum heading into next week's showdown with the Capital Cougars. Padukowicz out of the shotgun, looking deep, thinks about running. He's got to get out of some traffic. Heaves it. It's nearly picked off. It might have been deflected, but it was intended for Colin Corder on that far sideline, and it'll bring up 3rd and long, 3rd and 8 to be specific.
Now, they ran that fly sweep again, that end-around look of a play, and it seems that, Olympia they're usually not in this position, and it's like, hey, we can't get anything going. They probably went deeper into their bag of tricks. It's like, well, we got to try something, and they found something that's getting the defense to spread out a little bit, opening things up a little bit in that fly sweep, as you called it.
And this might be 2-down territory for Olympia as Padukowicz will bring them out. He's the kicker as well, and he's got a good leg, so we'll see what happens here. But they're looking for the first down on this play. A little misdirection off that fly sweep. Spiller able to juke and jive a little bit. He'll get close to the first down marker, but I don't think he's there.
Yeah, and that's a little bit, it's not the game that Bellevue runs, where it's all misdirection and it's tight running. This is a little bit wider open, but as you said, they faked the fly sweep and then ran it up the middle, and that's a bit like what the team from up north runs against much bigger teams with success.
So 4th and 1. It's a good solid 1 yard to go, and Padukowicz will have it. We'll see if he gooses it and takes it on the quarterback sneak. He does, and I do believe he has it.
Nice call, Alex. You saw that coming.
It looked like he had a little momentum coming up to that line. You sometimes see that quarterback that knows he's looking and he sees that opening and he kind of doesn't pause right away.
Yeah. It's
a little bit of a cue, but sometimes I've seen them called for motion on that, so you got to be really careful.
Yep.
But Padukowicz making his first start at quarterback for the Olympia Bears as they get a new set of downs after that nice pickup. But it was that run by Spiller that really set up that 4th and 1.
Well, if this is this kid's first start at quarterback, obviously it is. You said it is. This is one heck of a inaugural start. He's quite good. He's got a great arm.
Baptism by fire. And I know with the 2 interceptions, he'd love to add some touchdowns to the mix. Those 2 picks coming early on in the first half, helping to stake Lake Oswego to a big lead. And you saw the Lake Oswego defense knifing through for the drop in the backfield on that run play.
Yeah, that was Andrew Wren. And, they had enough of this. And the Bears have had success at running, as we said. And on the other side, Lake Oswego's like, okay, we got to stop the success. Let's mix it up. Let's get a blitz in there. And that's what happened there.
2nd and 13 from the 21. The Bears looking for their first points of the ball game. Fly sweep, it is. Fettig looking for running room around the left end. And he's dropped after he gets past the 20. And he gets back some of the yardage lost on the previous play, but it's going to bring up 3rd and 10, I think, here. And again, we talk about possibly being in 2-down territory as they look to get that first touchdown of the year.
Yeah, they are in 2-down territory because they got to get this goose egg off the board. I mean, at this point, they don't. Of course, they care about a win, but what they care about most is not getting shut out. And an effective addition to their offensive repertoire has been the sweeps they're running.
Padukowicz bringing his man in motion from left to right. Sets up the rollout to the right, and he's got a man open, and it's going to be a little bit short. As good defense on the play. Alex Johnson on that reception, dragging across the right side. He'll get a good chunk of it, but it's still going to be 4th and several yards to go.
So they're inside the red zone, and so as you said, they're going to go for it, right? I mean, I guess they could kick a field goal. I guess they could.
With the leg that we've seen on Padukowicz on those kickoffs, we'd see. But I think they're going to try and pick up the 6 points if they can get it here. They're going to have to go 3 yards to get the first down. And they bunch it up a little bit, but still a couple receivers wide right. They fake the handoff, little misdirection on the counter play, and it goes nowhere. And Lake Oswego will take over on downs. They tried that fake off of the fly sweep, hoping to get some misdirection off the backside, but Lake Oswego staying at home, and that made the difference.
Duncan Campbell making the stop straight ahead. Now that field goal sounds pretty good, you know.
Well, it does happen. But, again, you know, these guys, the head coaches, they've been around the block more than a few times. And, of course, they come into these games having to replace a bunch of players. You never know what you're going to get until you set on the field and see who performs for you.
But think about that. They had, 10 seconds to decide, what are we going to do? Go for it? Field goal? Oh, go for it. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty pressure-packed for the coaching staff.
Well, they're working some kinks out. That's what they want to do, is refine the game plan for future weeks. Almost a little bit of movement by Lake Oswego, but no flag. And then a big run and a big hit on the play. As for Lake Oswego, Travis Sanders getting his first run, a junior 5'11", 175-pounder. Got his bell rung coming across the middle. I think one of the snaps on his helmet came off.
But the helmet stayed on, and we talked about that. But that was Diego O'Brien, 180 pounds, hitting with everything he had, and that was an impressive hit.
And we'll see here now in a 34-0 ball game with 7:21 left to go in the contest if they start to work some of the guys in to see what they have for future games. Let's see how folks react in these situations. Get some folks some experience. Good running off of the guard on the left side. Big hole open on that side. And I think one of the challenges for Olympia in this one, we talked about it earlier, Connor Willimovsky, a first-team All-Narrows League player from last year, a guy that's getting scouted by colleges, had a shoulder injury, was coming into this one. We thought he might not play in the entirety of the game, but he ends up playing just on offense here on the right side, but a two-way player that would have loved to have been playing defense on this one, and that one ran right where he probably would have been on that defensive line. So 1st and 10 from the 31-yard line out of the I formation. The Lakers. Long count. Now the handoff. Stepping in and around the blockers goes the running back. The quarterback in the ballgame for Lake Oswego is a newcomer, Harrison Reese, a 6-foot junior, 160-pounder, as the two other quarterbacks that have played, both Justin Rupi and Harrison Ramey, both seniors. So you can see some of the clockworks in the brain of Steve Curry, the head coach of the Lakers. Let's get a little bit of time here in this win for a player that might see some action next year, or potentially, you never know how the season's going to go. You never know with injuries. He might have to see some time, so they bring him in here, and he's commanding the offense fairly well. They've got it now 2nd and 4 after the run. He's yet to pass it, I believe, as he keeps just handing it off, and this time it's stuffed in the middle by the Bears after a short gain.
Yeah, the Lakers are getting good push now on the offensive line. They're really, well, we're at the part of the game where fatigue is a factor, right? I mean, we've been playing for a couple hours. There's only 5 minutes or so left in the game, and that bigger offensive line is really shoving that defensive line of the Lakers back. And you didn't really see that so much on this play. On the previous play, you did, though.
3rd and short, 2 yards. It's more like a yard and a half. Out of the I formation, defenders jumping, no flag, and this one might be dropped for no gain or possibly even a loss, as it's sniffed out well by the defense of the Bears.
So at this point, what do you do if you're Lake Oswego? I mean, I would say that they have a high percentage of making it. I mean, they're not even to the 40-yard line, so traditionally you wouldn't go for it on 4th. You might want to be a little easy on the host school. There they go. There's the punt squad coming on. So.
I think in all facets of the game, there's room for practice this early in the season, and so for the punting aspect of things, I think you want to get some practice. And Jack Anderson, who's had a couple of good boots earlier, will come in here. We haven't heard his name called much in the second half, and I think we may see a timeout here, as it looks like the Bears are also trying to get a shift of players as well, and the Bears take their first time out of the half here, and an opportunity to remind you to stay tuned for the PlayOnSports.com postgame show. We'll wrap up all the action from this ball game and select a player of the game. That might be tough because we've had some good performers. That's coming up following the game here on your destination for high school sports, playonsports.com. That coming up in about 4 minutes and 40 seconds of game action.
So there was a little bit of indecision there, it would seem, that Lake Oswego was going to punt. And you're right, there was a lot of good reasons to punt. I mean, you want to work on the punt game. I mean, there's no reason to go for it at this point. You got the game in the bag. But they waited just long enough to really confuse the Bears. They had to call a timeout.
And you never know, a little bit of gamesmanship and practicing some of the things that you do as routine for some of the guys that might be stepping on the field for, in many cases, the first time as part of your varsity.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Anderson, who's got a pretty good leg, will hit a line drive roller here out of bounds. So this one not as good a kick as he would have wanted, but he did keep it away from a very good return man in Mitch Fettig, who didn't get a chance that time, but he'll get a chance on offense here. That one a pretty short kick, as I think they netted out at about 17 yards or so after that boot.
Yeah, that was a short one. And, you know, at the 37-yard line for the Bears, this will be the best field position they've had of the game. So the time is running out. As a former, player, kind of wannabe, but, I played in high school. You never want to get shut out. So they definitely have something to play for here.
And we'll see what they do as far as the offense. It looks like they may have a new quarterback coming out onto the field. As I believe Charles Allaire, a 5'10 junior, 185-pounder, will come in and run the offense. So we'll see what Allaire can do. He hands it off, and a good run by Casey Bond. You know what? First time in as a quarterback into a ball game, Casey Bond running it up for nearly a first down. Not a bad way to start.
Jack Quinn on the stop. And, yes, you walk in as a quarterback, that's a high-pressure situation. If you can get any kind of and that was a 9-yard gain, so that was a great gain, and that quarterback's feeling much more comfortable now in that huddle.
4:03 left to play in this ball game. Lake Oswego, the defending 6A state champion in Oregon, going 14-0 last year, looking like they will start the year 1-0 as they own the commanding 34-0 lead over the Olympia Bears, who last year 9-2, ranked as high as 5th in the 4A ranks last year in the state of Washington. They are looking to get things all figured out before they enter into league play coming up on Friday, September 21st, when they take on Stadium. But they've got a game crosstown at Capital against their rival Cougars, who defeated Newport High School yesterday as they scored a touchdown with 16 seconds left in the game to defeat the Newport Knights.
Wow.
24 to 22, I believe,
really?
In that one, or 29-22. Nonetheless, Capital getting that win, so that'll be an interesting contest next week. And then they'll take on Timberline, a team that's down here in the South Puget Sound area, but they haven't faced them since 1990. So some good contests coming up for Olympia to continue to test the mettle before they head into league play. Here's the pitch to the left side, and the Bears looking for some running room. This time it is Tate Steele, a 5'9 junior, 160-pounder that picks up a couple of yards on the carry, and that'll bring up third and a couple.
When you have a new quarterback, you always have to worry about the basics. So the play before, there was a false start. And of course, it was 2nd and 1, and it moved back to 2nd and about 6. Well, just like the quarterback had confidence after the long first play, it's like, whoops, false start. You got a different guy with a different cadence, and guys just are not used to him calling the plays.
Allaire looks like a broken play as he circled around, and not what he was looking for. Might have gone the wrong direction on the play. No gain, or at least a couple of inches, but it's going to bring up 4th down and a couple to go, and we'll see what they choose to do. Still in their own territory. They will call it a gain of 1, but it still remains 4th and a long 1, because this thing is just inside the yard marker. So they're going to have to go a long way. They will go for it here, as again, trying to get on the scoreboard with just 2:17 remaining in this one. So Allaire will have it after the busted play a moment ago. Gets the handoff this time, ahead for the first down and more. Go the Bears and into Laker territory.
The stop by Lake Oswego, Garrett Burnett 255 pounds, 255. And the coaching staff of Olympia, I mean, they have their second team in there, and that's great. That's great to see. Some coaches just want to, I mean, you're not going to win this game, but they'll keep their first team in there at all cost, always trying to compete. So the coaching staff really cares about getting their kids playing time.
Fake on the handoff, and a little bit of an end around, if you will, but it's the running back, and this time it is Colin Corder, the running back coming from that slot position on the right side. Gets a good chunk of yardage. Looks like he's going to have 8 yards, so second and short to go, but just 90 seconds left to go in this game.
Drew Naoni with the stop. That was an exciting run. You know, for this late of the game at this score, that was an excellent run to watch. Lots of good moves, faking people out.
All there, under center. And the handoff again, this time same play, other direction, and a good hole as this time Caden Wagoner.
Ball's loose, it looks
able
like.
to scoot ahead, and he's able to jump back on it, or has a friend down there in blue that was able to jump back on top of it. But, you know, you get that running back stood up there with a couple of defenders, and you never know. But the clock pauses for a moment while they move the chains, but they restart it here with just 1:03 left to go. So
they could score yet, and you'd hate to ruin a nice run like that by fumbling at the very end. So it was a good thing to see Olympia recover that loose ball.
50 seconds left to go, and J.J. Schinke fresh off the sideline. That was the delay. He's off on the left wing. Here's the handoff. They fake it and give it on the sweep again, the counter, if you will, and nothing but white jerseys in the way of the running back for the Bears. And we're down to 31 seconds remaining, so we may not even see another play. We'll have to see if they get it in, but they have decided to keep the ball on the ground. They've really not aired it out.
Let's see, out there on the stop, Mason Czar was involved for Lake Oswego. Let's see if we can get it in the end zone here, Bears.
11 seconds left to go. All there puts the man in motion. He'll hand it off again, and this may be the last play of the game as the running back drug down inside the 20-yard line, and that is the ball game as the clock expires. And Lake Oswego picking up where they left off last year, going 14-0. They start the year 1-0 with a 34-0 shutout of the Bears from Olympia High School. What a game here for Lake Oswego, but it was Olympia early on with the miscues that really gave Lake Oswego the 14-point boost with just a couple minutes gone in this one, Don.
Yeah, dominating performance by, I mean, it doesn't take a genius. 34-0, obviously dominating. You know, the Bears, they faced a physically bigger team. Throughout the middle of the game, they played even with them. The very beginning of the game, it was highly uneven as Lake Oswego scored 2 touchdowns in a space of 2.5 minutes to start the game. And obviously, the Bears never recovered from that. But really, they had J.B. Holmes, who was just a very active and dominating player in the game. He did catch, I think, 1 pass, but he was running mostly up the middle. They didn't even really begin to tap the resources he brings to the team. I could imagine in a close game they would be going outside, inside, deep to that kid. And then also for their passing game, they threw some excellent balls downfield. Justin Rupi, I mean, he had 1 pass that was just thrown so perfectly down the right sideline that he had his receiver in stride. It looked like a total, NFL high-caliber college player at that point. So Lake Oswego, they're definitely looking like a good team, starting off right where they left off last year.
Well, and one of the challenges we have trying to pick a player of the game in this one, when you've got a 2-headed quarterback, people will say you don't have a quarterback. I don't think that's the case for Lake Oswego, as they got contributions from both their quarterbacks. I think Holmes was outstanding with the run and keeping some consistency in there. Rupi had a throwing touchdown pass, and you had the Harrison Ramey was able to connect on a touchdown pass as well. Check that. It was Rupi with the quarterback keeper on the run, but Rupi also had a heck of a connection with a receiver to set up a 1-yard touchdown run later. So you got to look at both of those quarterbacks and feel like you can win with them if you're Lake Oswego.
And the biggest takeaway that I would, as a football fan, I think high school football is great because the players change. College is the same way. A kid's only in high school 4 years, and the coaches are constantly have a revolving door of talent. So that's why it's such a coaching thing. You look at the NFL, the same guys stay around for a decade, 2 decades. But the biggest story of this game would be the annual extravaganza that's being set up between these two schools, Olympia and Lake Oswego. You mentioned that Olympia is going to go down there next year. Maybe they can keep this thing going. And, that's a great tradition to continue.
Well, and Olympia is going to want to try and rebound with this. They've got a big game against the crosstown rival Capital Cougars, who won their opener. So that there'll be some, they might run into each other at the mall over the next week. You never know how that works out. But they'll have a great celebration of football here today as that took place all throughout the day. And then, of course, they'll have their annual, I think, the Spaghetti Bowl contest against Capital next week. But the Bears, some things to take away from them. Yes, you're shut out 34-0. However, you got some experience and you got some bounce-back play from your starting quarterback, Gabe Padukowicz. You also got him looking to connect up with Alex Johnson on a couple of great plays. So you have some building blocks there. And for Padukowicz, a couple of interceptions in the first half. He played a lot more cleanly in the second half and has some building blocks to take with him into next week.
And the Olympia coaching staff could have, everything's hindsight 2020, they could have taken better advantage maybe of Padukowicz. He was throwing the ball quite well, and it seemed like, they may know the limits of the kid. I've never seen the kid before, but was a very good thrower. He could go deep. He could throw in the flats. It seemed like in the second half they may have ran too much against a team they really had no business trying to beat on the run. But, really, it's only up from here for Olympia, right?
Well, player of the game in this one, I'm voting Holmes. Some steady running for the Lakers, who had a lot of folks contribute in this one, but his seemed to be the most steady in the contest.
And if we needed to, which we don't, pick a player for the Bears, it would be Gabe Padukowicz.
Yep, and so both these teams back in action next week. The Lakers will head back down south, and they'll play a regional contest against Centennial, and we've already talked about the Olympia Bears taking on the Capital Cougars next week. That's going to wrap it up from Ingersoll Stadium here in Olympia, Washington, where the Lakers of Lake Oswego defeat the Olympia Bears 34-0. We'd like to thank you for joining us on PlayOnSports.com's coverage of Friday Night Football here from beautiful Olympia, Washington. Be sure to check PlayOnSports.com for information and links to all of our upcoming broadcasts. For our producer Nathaniel Jackson, our videographer Gary Beck, and my partner Don Bushell, I'm Alex Webster saying so long, and we hope you'll join us next Friday night on your destination for high school sports and Friday Night Football, PlayOnSports.com. Good night, everybody.
Have a good weekend.